Welcome to the Gemini Way episode 2. Today we have a very special guest leading the podcast, and that is Mark Hadaway, Managing Director of I Love Claims and co-founder of ARC 360. Mark will be interviewing Michael Goldin, the Network Manager of LV. In this episode, Michael opens up about his personal life, business, and how he keeps his mind focused in performing at such a high level of managing the repairer network for LV and the 39 sole sites. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did.
Michael, thank you very much for joining us today on the Gemini Way. Really good to see you.
Thank you.
And a dicky bird tells me it might be a 21-year anniversary with LV at the moment.
It is. Part of that is with Highway. So I joined Highway back in 2002. Obviously, LV took over Highway in 2010, and I've been there ever since.
My goodness. So you must have started in the industry in nappies, basically.
Yes, if. No, started in the industry in 1987, left school, started a 3-year apprenticeship, City and Guilds apprenticeship as it was at that time, and started as a panel beater, straight in the shop floor. Worked there as a panel beater in total, including my apprenticeship, for 10 years. And then at the latter part of that period of time, I started getting involved in estimating and a little bit of workshop control at the same repairers that was just in London, and developed it from there. So the experience to the insurance world and engineering came at the latter part, and it just for some reason attracted me to it. And I then started taking my qualifications for the IAEA examination as a sideline, something I wanted to do myself. So whilst I was doing that, I left the company there because the body shop was moving, and I became a body shop manager. So it's quite a funny story in relation to that. I actually started as an estimator. So it was a body shop in Walthamstow, and they asked for an estimator, got the job, and started. And on the first day I joined, the body shop manager at the time told me that he was leaving. So
Didn't take that personally.
No. So I was a bit rabbit in headlight scenario, and then the director of the business called me in and said they were going to start looking for a body shop manager, but in the interim, would I mind being a body shop manager? And this was on the first day. So again, I was thrown straight into it, but I done that. I fair to say I learned a lot. I was there, unfortunately, I was only there for a year because I was offered a job as an engineer. So I was dealing with a particular company, an insurance company that was doing a lot of work with us, and they were working with an independent engineering company, and they offered me a job, and they said that as a body shop manager and an estimator, I had the makings of a good engineer. And as I was already taking my examinations, I thought, yeah, I'll do it. So it was a bit of baptism of fire, really, and something I really enjoyed. And who knows, had I not been offered that job at that time, I may have stayed as a body shop manager and been on the other side of the fence. But I went into engineering, so I was an independent engineer for 5 years. I would say it was that period of time in the industry where Audatex was just coming into the market, right, yeah, as were approved repairers. So it was right at the start. But I was an independent engineer all around the sort of North London, East London area, sort of where I sort of born and brought up.
So out in the car and kind of,
yeah, out there. With a sort of clipboard and pen and the Thatcham book and the glasses guide, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, very much done that. But I often look back where I was sort of taught the real basics of good engineering and good understanding, and dealing with body shops as well. And then done that for 5 years, and then moved into for Highway. Yep. And again, that was 2002, and sort of started there again. Started as a field engineer, and then was in with them for 2 years, and then offered a position as an engineering manager, and just stayed, and then sort of developed my time between that, got involved in claims, networks, the whole sort of part of it, as well as the wider supply chain, and still here today.
Still here today and enjoying it and smiling.
Yes, yeah, I do. I'm fortunate. I'm one of those fortunate people, I guess. I really enjoy my job. I really like it. Like the people. I work with a great team of people. And I would say within the supply chain, and I love the industry as well, the characters. So I've got more of a fondness, if you like, of the network side in that regards as an insurance company. But I often regard that I have, from an insurance company, I have one foot in the insurance world and one side in the network world. And I think from the company as LV, they benefit from that. So I'm closely linked. I sort of almost like work in the middle somewhere. But I believe that's been a source of our success in regards of network and that relationship, which we obviously put a lot of focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. And as an engineer then, so again, starting out the career on the panel side of the industry, then moving into engineering, you've obviously moved away from that in the day-to-day role, but do you tinker in the garage? Kind of, you got toys, you got a car or something?
I don't really. I do have a little Mazda MX-5 convertible. I wouldn't say I tinker with it. It was more that when the weather's decent, I put the hood down and drive around the country lanes. But no, it's funny. I don't really have that interest enough to do anything restoration or whatever. I just, I guess my other hobbies and things sort of take me away from that a little bit during my time at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will come back to your hobbies very soon, because you and I kind of share a passion for things. And it's quite interesting. I found myself kind of tinkering with cars again recently and doing bits and pieces. And it's lovely to get the spanners out, but you end up with all scuffed knuckles and cuts everywhere. So that's one of the downsides. Yeah. So let's then kind of where you started in the industry, a great little insight there. Can we rewind even further? And again, this is kind of linked, obviously, to the new generation within the industry. They talk about, obviously, you were heavily involved in auto rays, yourselves and LV back that, as do obviously Gemini. What was your time at school like? What was your experiences there?
I guess from school, I was very much middle of the road. I was never going to be an academic genius, it's fair to say, despite both my parents being very clever and my mum being a school teacher as well. But at the same time, I wouldn't regard myself as a tearaway either. I was somewhere in the middle. But as a young lad, I played football, out on the bike, obviously, back then, show my age. It was. I had a very happy childhood in and around the Waltham Forest area, where my parents grew up as well. So I'm one of 4 of children from my parents. So I had a very fortunate, happy childhood in that regards. And I think from an industry point of view, I was just loved that car connection. I used to have the picture of the Lamborghini Countach on the bedroom wall, and just had a fondness and just was attracted to the sort of the industry itself, as in just cars, mechanical, but I fell more into the body shop side because at that time it was not so much of a great take up. People wanted to become mechanics or whatever, but my eyes opened up to the sort of, if you like, the accident repair side, and saw that there was a demand. So the doors opened.
And so do you remember that point of kind of securing that first role, or
yes.
How did you go about getting into the industry?
I was actually, when I was at school, I had a Saturday job with one of my sister's old boyfriends, and he had a small accident repair business. And I guess where I was attracted to it was that I remember him coming popping around to the family home, and he seemed to be in a different car almost every week, and it was cars that he would sort of buy and basically do up and ready to sell. And he'd sort of turn up in all these sort of sports cars. So I'm talking sort of Astra GTEs, blimey, Opel Mantas, and all this sort of generation. And I back then I was like, wow, I like this. And I went to work with him on a Saturday, cleaning cars, sweeping the workshop, all that sort of stuff. Could have only been about 15, 16 at that time. So at that point, it was, this is what I want to do. Right. And then I saw the opportunity with a large Ford dealership in our area that was advertising for apprentices, originally for mechanics. Right. And I applied for that. I went for an interview. And they said to me that I gave them some background of what I was doing at the time. And they said, well, why don't you want to go into accident repair? And I said, I never really thought about it. And they said, well, we've got an apprenticeship opening for a sort of panel beater and whatever. So I just joined that. So I started the 3-year apprenticeship, and it was quite a sort of good opportunity, because back then there was YTS and apprenticeship city and guilds. So I was fortunate enough to get the apprenticeship and the city and guilds. So I started on that path with from day one, doing the 1 day a week block release at a local vehicle college in Walthamstow, and that's how I sort of started and went into the apprenticeship.
And at that stage, did you have sort of an overriding aspiration of where that career was going to take you, or was it purely to get involved with cars?
It was mainly just to be involved in cars, but I think early on in my apprenticeship, I probably realised that I wanted to sort of progress in my career. And then when I started getting involved a little bit more on the sort of estimating side, I used to see these vehicle engineer assessors coming around in their suits and their company cars, and I thought to myself, I like the look of that. That looks good to me. That looks, So I sort of started getting a bit more involved, and then that's when I looked up about the institute of the IAEA, and started getting involved in that side, and then I started doing the release. So I'd done that all off my own back.
Interesting. Yep.
To really develop. So it was night courses, so it was 2 days a week on a Wednesday night and a Thursday night, a local college that I started studying, doing those exams. So it felt like I was going back, because a lot of my friends at that time, they left school, they went to college, where I sort of left school and I went straight into an apprenticeship.
Interesting times. And it's, great to hear that you kind of, off your own back did these things. Did you have, was your employer aware of what you were up to at the time?
Yes, they were very good. That's why they helped me, support me more on the estimating side, to get a little bit involved. So there was a balance between, obviously I was on a bonus scheme as well towards the end of the apprenticeship. So there was a balance of doing my sort of, if you like, the job itself, the repairing of vehicles, and then estimating in between. So it was very much a case of running in and out of the workshop, doing estimates and bits and pieces. But I also done Saturdays there, just doing estimating, just to build up my knowledge and experience. So I wanted to do that off my own back, because that way I was sort of just purely focused on estimating at the time.
Great stuff. Great story. Really interesting to hear. Fast forward now to today, where we find you kind of heading up networks for LV. Tell us a little bit about kind of, the day-to-day job as it is today.
So day-to-day is very widespread in regards of the sort of department itself. So I have a team of 6 regional network managers. And in addition, I have also 6 network consultants as well. So the 6 regionals are the people that go out and about visiting the repairers, and they do everything from performance management, governance and compliance, sort of, if you like, that supply chain relationship part. Yep. Doing that, and then the team at the network consultant team, then they do a lot of the standard reporting, they do a lot of the performance management, they also build relationships with the repairers, but we work very much as a team. Each people having their own skill sets, but very much working as a group and with a team, but working really submerged within the relationship and the network and the repairers themselves, trying to sort of build that rapport up and trying to get the best out of the individual repairer or the repairer groups. So we pride ourselves on providing that support mechanism to sort of get the best out of them, and also so they can benefit out of that relationship. So there's a sort of a dual benefit of being an LV approved repairer.
And in terms of being an LV approved repairer, I mean, in terms of the network, just give us a little bit of an insight as to where that stands today.
Yeah, so as of today, we have around 170 individual sites. Of the 170, there's currently today 39 dedicated sole sites. So sole sites is where we don't own the business or the site. We just work with the group that provide one of those dedicated sole sites, and all they do is work for LV, and it's only LV customers. So one sort of almost like seamless process of one customer, one set of processes. But then we also have a combination of other groups, including a lot of independent, what I regard as independent family-run type businesses. So, one sort of site only. So they're still very important to us. We have a lot of those that are long-standing relationships. And I have to say they also give us additional benefit as well as the group. So the sort of, there's a fine balance to try and get that right. And really, to be honest, we just want to work with the best businesses out there. And I like to think, dare I say, I probably know that we do work with the best out there. But we try to do a mutual benefit, so they get great value working through LV as a partner.
Yeah, and I have to say, having attended some of your network events in the past, I can see how open and collaborative those relationships are, and how much you, take on board the feedback from the network, which I think is amazing.
I mean, we do pride ourselves in transparency. We're very open in that regards. We often do things like our Repair Engage survey every year, where we go out and ask them, what's working, what's not working, what could we do better. And we take that very seriously, because I think that's really important, because without our network of repairers, our customers, us as a business, it would look very different if it wasn't for those. But we need that buy-in. So I think it's really important to get honest, transparent feedback on what's working. And we work on that every year. So sort of, what can we look to improve? And I think it's that consistent looking to improve all the time that helps us and keeps us sort of ahead. And I always like to consider, our biggest competitor is ourselves. Yep. In regards of trying to just improve all the time, rather than worrying about other people. Just focus on ourselves, and that sort of ethos and focus, I think, works for us, and I think definitely like to think it works for some of our suppliers as well.
Yeah, great way to look at things. And as I say, it's not a secret in the industry that you guys are constantly pushing the boundaries and trying to do the right things. So, hats off. And obviously these guys, the Gemini guys, you work very closely with them. So tell us a little bit about that relationship.
Yeah, so that's been quite long-standing, really. Dave Sargent, we started talking in the early days. I'm going to probably get the year wrong, but it's probably as early as 2012, 2013. So obviously Gemini is a business a lot smaller than it was back then, to where it is on its grand scale today. But we started working with them, and again, Dave was part of a group of body shop owners, characters back then that were sort of, I guess, key figures with the industry. And we started asking them, saying, right, as we were starting creating the network, we wanted to find out what works, what's good for a repairer, what's good as a supply chain from an insurance point of view, what do they need? And we saw that there was a lot of friction in that whole relationship. And, Gemini worked with us to sort of look at ways we could remove a lot of that friction. So put the customer at the front, keep the customer as the point of focus, and trying to sort of remove some of those obstacles that was causing some disruption for LV, for Gemini, and the customer. So we sort of worked with them, and again, Gemini was sort of instrumental in that, and we were fortunate enough to work with them as well to bring on the early days of the first soul site. So having these soul sites, just Gemini, just LV, being able to say, right, what can we do to try and remove all that friction even further, and work on a model where, as seamless as possible, you can get the vehicle straight in, basically get it repaired and just send us an invoice. What does there need to be more simple than that? So they help shape, I would say, what we have today.
And a great model it is too, or seemingly from the outside looking in, I have to say. But no, and it's great, and it is a unique model. It's obviously a growing model as well, which would indicate that it's working well for all parties. And how many soul sites have Gemini got with yourselves now?
We've got 8 with them at the present. Yep. Plus we work with some of their other sites with other clients as well. They do around about 21% of total mainstream volume. So that probably equates to around about anything to up to about 500 repairs a week.
Wow, that's big business. It's a lot of repairs. And again, moving forward, because the two names are kind of synonymous with the development of AutoRaise, which is something we've mentioned. But give us a little bit more of an insight into AutoRaise, what it is, how LV got involved, and obviously your personal sort of passion for that as well.
Yeah, so I remember seeing Dave. There was an apprentice event a few years ago with down in Rice Street in Bishop Stortford that Bill Duffy had arranged, and it was an open day, and it was just getting local college or school children in to have a look at what they're doing. There was a few of the suppliers there, so
I remember it well. I think I was there.
Yeah. And Dave was there, I was there, and I recall it was a bit of an opening moment, I think, where we looked at this opportunity, and you had a chance to not only meet the young children, but the parents as well, and talk to them. And I think there was a real opening where people realised what this industry could do and what it was all about. And I'm sure Dave probably feels the same, and there was a few other industry people at that event, obviously including yourself, that sort of made realise actually this is a great industry. It can attract the young people, and I started getting involved, especially when I saw Bob Linwood talk at a couple of events very passionately, I must say, about these opportunities. And it really did resonate with me because obviously being an apprentice myself, so I approached LV, see if we could sponsor, or to be a sponsor of AutoRaise. And thankfully they agreed and wanted to be part of it, and they saw the value of introducing the next generation of talent and what that demand meant for the insurance industry, because obviously we need young people coming in to repair the vehicles, and not only for today but for tomorrow as well. So it's really important. So I think we've been now I'm going to probably say 6-7 years we've been sponsoring Auto Race, and then I got the opportunity to be part of the trustee board, which I gladly took, and have been part of it ever since. And again, I've been in a fortunate position where I've been able to use that position of LV and Auto Race and the network to try and help promote the industry. And I would say Gemini has led that very well to what they've got now from a industry point of view and an apprenticeship part. I think they've sort of been trailblazers in regards of setting the standards, and I've been able to monitor and watch how other companies have sort of followed suit as well, which I think is, a really good thing. Sort of creating good apprenticeship standards. So it's not just about training young people. I think it's much more than that. It's bringing people into the industry and giving them the opportunity, similar to what I had, where they identified the sort of multiple opportunities that they have in there. Repairing the vehicle itself, I believe, is still such a worthwhile sort of trade to do, but there is also other options within the wider piece. Even joining an insurance company or engineering or whatever. But there's multiple strands to that opportunity, and I think repairing the vehicle is just the start.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I think in terms of an industry, it is an extremely exciting time, I think, with everything that's happening, the evolution of the motor vehicle itself, all the technology that's flooding into the industry. I think, as you say, there is probably now more of a recognition of the multitude of career paths that it can take you. Your own story kind of takes you from a beginning in a repairer all the way through to where you are now, kind of thing. So I think there's massive opportunity. It's lovely to, people like yourselves pioneering that message, trying to get that message out is fantastic. Do you see, again, kind of going back to that point of the industry evolving, how exciting do you think it is from a young person's perspective? You talked about kind of the Opel Manta and the Astra GTE and the Renault 5 GT2. I mean, all cars of my era, absolutely loved it. That's what kind of, floated my boat. I wanted to be involved in cars, came at it from a completely different angle in terms of became this kind of journalist in the motoring industry. Is there that kind of, passion, inspiration for people to join the industry that, is now, and also, what is exciting about our industry moving ahead, I suppose?
I think it is a very interesting time, and I think it's absolutely exciting. I think that what has happened through the apprenticeships is that the technology has helped advance it. Gone are the days when you see some of the body shops that are sort of regarded almost like dark grubby places on the corner of of a high street or whatever. Now they're different businesses. And they're very professional, almost corporate businesses. And I think the repairing of vehicles now, with the technology, with the standard, the equipment, the tooling, the training, I think it's taken the industry itself to a different level. And I think it's probably getting the recognition that it now needs and deserves. And I think that as an apprenticeship coming into that, working with the likes of Gemini, you get that opportunity to work in that sort of almost that environment, but also have other opportunities within the business as well. And I think that's a really exciting time for any young person that's coming in. And I think that it's a good trade. It's a solid trade. It can be a very rewarding trade, both from a skill set and financially as well. And I think that it is a great opportunity for young people. And I think, yes, there's more to be done to attract more. And the work that Auto Race, it's ever ongoing. But there are other people out there that are banging that drum as well. And it's great to see. And we're getting some really good young people that are coming in and very passionate about it. And I think it's a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, those cars I mentioned, if we would have held on to them, obviously we would be
absolutely, comfortably
financially sound now. But and so Is there jobs? I mean, one of the bits that really excites me about this industry is kind of the future jobs that we probably don't even know about yet and are staring at us in the face. Do you think it's going to take kind of young people to come into the industry and kind of almost pose those questions and drive that?
I think it probably does need the young people to come in to look. If you look at things like electric vehicles, ADAS, that level of technology, I think you need that young people because I think it requires that fresh way of looking at things as well. And if they're young people that are coming in the industry now that are understanding it, that are on the early days of this expansion of technology, I think they will be at the sort of start of it, and it will help that journey go forward. So I think it will be again a really exciting time for them, but it probably needs those young people, different ideas, how to not just repair the cars but also run the body shop businesses as well. Body shop businesses have been often accused of being occasionally antiquated in some businesses in that, and maybe a bit slow going forward, but that is changing, and businesses again like Gemini that have been able to change, the trial things, do things differently and think more like a corporate business. And I think that's probably what it needs, but it does need that next generation to help take the industry further.
A bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you like, in that sense, isn't it? And one of those bits moving forward, and I think, something that is arguably, a fantastic thing to come into the industry and dare I say it, may even drive more repair in the future. Environmental impact. The industry is very, very switched on now in terms of what is happening there, recycled parts, repair over replace, all these kind of things coming to the fore. Tell us a little bit about that from your side, because that is massively important in everybody's kind of lifestyle today.
Yeah, so I got involved in the environmental side probably just off the back of the pandemic, when we started looking at our LV's sort of corporate social responsibility aspects. So what can we do within the repair network in regards of carbon and environmental. So we started looking at the different levels of standards that was there, what was happening currently at the moment. And it was quite frightening when you started looking at the way the industry worked. Obviously, spray booth ovens, not some body shops, the way some of the machinery, tooling, everything was being used. We had to look at it and say, right, we've got a challenge on our hands. So I started working again with some of the large groups, including Gemini, looking at different ways, looking at different standards, and then we started progressing with things like PAS 2060. And those type of ways of looking to say, how can we start this journey? How can we start trying to demonstrate that these businesses are environmentally conscious, and how can we sort of progress that through as a business, and also say to our customers that we are considering the environment when we're repairing your vehicle. So doing a lot of work there, which is, I would say, still ongoing. So looking at our wider corporate social responsibility, but also incorporating things like apprentices, looking at things like, as you say, green parts, looking at things like mental health, looking at diversity, inclusion, electric vehicle, all of those subjects that we think actually these businesses are in a really good place. But it also is very good for them as well to try and bring themselves forward as a business. So started doing a lot of work in that, and then recently started looking at the actual repair itself. So looking at things like oven temperatures, looking at things like how we can reduce the utilisation of body shop and utilisation of the body shop oven, looking at how we can have proper controls around things like use of UV, ambient drying, all of those methods. How can we try and get a little bit more sort of carbon reduction in the actual repair process? So we started doing a lot of work there, and again with working with the repair network, and a lot of our groups are sort of looking at and identifying opportunities to try, and also to get some financial savings there through obviously the use of oven reduction. and I would say in particular, the cost of energy, where it has been and where it still is in the body shop's interest as well to try and control those costs as well as CO2 savings. So it's really at the forefront. The whole sustainability side has been at the forefront of what we've been doing in the last few years.
So you mentioned sustainability there, and across the industry is evolving. It's changing shape. We've got different people coming in from different backgrounds, different demographics, which I think is fantastic. You've touched upon the environmental piece. Generally speaking, the industry, dare I say it, is becoming kind of more professional. You probably see that from your side as well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, very much so. I think it has moved on. I think people have taken different attitudes towards it. They're looking at it in a different light now, and people are seeing it as a desirable business. And I think that, in conjunction with the new breed of people that are coming through, I think that will just keep happening, and I think it's a really good opportunity for those people that want to invest. It's not an easy industry. I think we all know that it can be difficult. Margins can be tight. You have to be efficient, but I think with the right attitude, the right people, I think there's so many success stories out there. And I think that's the key. But it has to keep evolving. People have to keep pushing boundaries. But I would say that was probably in any business of today's environment, that they've got to push the boundaries, keep trying, working hard, and hopefully reap the rewards.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that kind of, the diversity angle of attracting new people within the industry, different ideas, different thoughts, different concepts, I think that's a fantastic thing to, as you say, to help the industry continue to evolve and shape for the future. So tell us a little bit about that kind of future in terms of, we work an awful lot. It's a very sort of, I'll use the word convoluted. That's not probably the right word, but there's lots of people involved in any one claim in the industry. You've talked a lot about the repairers and the network. What about the kind of, the rest of the supply chain who are involved in that process? How is that kind of evolving as we go?
So technology is moving into the insurance world. So we're forever looking at that evolution in systems to be able to get to our customers quicker, easier, make the claim journey more easily available, trying to keep up with the customer demands of obviously having their vehicle repaired. That is continuing. It can be a challenge, obviously, trying to keep that level going, but I think that it's moving in the right direction as regarding as capabilities. We still need the traditional claims handler. I think that's still very, very important, and put that human element into that, helping the customers, because obviously when someone has an accident, there's a degree of stress. They want that reassurance, and having that person on the end of the phone and having that access to that, assurance that their vehicle is going to be repaired and what's happening next in the claim stage is very important. But going back to the network, I think that's where our network can also help, because they're the face, if you like, of when they bring the vehicle to the garage, and that helps them with that journey. So I do really see that the supply chain, including the repair network, is part of that claims journey. They are part, especially sole sites, they are part of LV and helping that customer. But there's still a lot more to do as an industry, from the point of working with customers to get that customer journey right. But we're in a really good place, and I think we've been fortunate enough to win several awards and get a lot of industry recognition around our customer handling. I obviously see that the repair network is a sort of instrumental part of that journey for customers.
And I suppose the industry is very interesting. As you say, there's that kind of technology-human dynamic that's sort of playing out at the moment. And I think absolutely you're right. The two work hand in hand. I don't think one wins or takes advantage. I think the two work very much hand in hand. So it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves for the future and get the best use from that technology supported by the human element. So yeah, really interesting times, I think, to come. You're clearly passionate about this industry. The future looks bright, and what continues to kind of drive Michael Golding on a day-to-day basis? He gets out of bed and he jumps up in the air and he says, right, here we go again. What's kind of driving you there?
I do like the challenges out there. I think that's really good. I like the relationship building with repairers, and I like to see repairers doing really well. So we do measure a lot of regarding performance. We're quite renowned for that. But if you deliver that in the right way, if you deliver that in a sort of positive way and actually work with repairers to almost really want them to achieve relevant targets and also help them achieve those targets, I think that's really rewarding. We run a labour rate matrix, so we have repairers that are either what we call outperform plus, outperform, perform, underperform. And we've had so many businesses that have been at that lower end, underperform, and you work with them, work with the sites, work with the body shop managers, the VDAs, the workshop controllers, and try and get them to that outperform level. It's fairly basic KPIs, but you try to work with them and try to get that customer satisfaction, try to get the efficiency in the workshop, and then understanding their restraints, but work them using the experience that we've used and we've been able to obtain through dealing with many body shop businesses over the years. So you really get a good insight to what works and having that influence there with them as well. And I think that actually for me is really rewarding, where you can work with them. And as I say, it's we get really a lot of good feedback, and people just sort of like and appreciate that type of and that level of support from an insurer. And I like to think it's quite unique in the industry, but for them, we want them to outperform as much as they do in that regards, and we do everything that we can to help them support it. And I think that recognition that gives them that status of an outperformed, that helps me drive. And also, obviously, for LV as well, to provide that and our customers that level of good service. So when they do have an accident, they're able to go to the likes of Gemini to provide a real good seamless customer level, just getting the vehicle repaired, but not just getting the vehicle repaired and getting it repaired very well, but actually helping with the claims journey. So it's sort of minimal disruption to their lives, but as easy as it can to help support it. So, when they renew again with LV, they're comfortable if in the unfortunate circumstances they do have an accident, that they can know what to expect and that high level of service. And I'm talking high level of service that sort of replicates what we see today with other key businesses, where we see the likes of some real big, business names that we can put our names alongside those and say this is the same level of customer service that you can expect from LV. And I think it's that demand that drives me, and that challenge to keep, and also just to keep getting better as well at it.
And I think it's a great thing, that reciprocal kind of wanting people to do well. You build the tribe and they want you to do well at the same time. So I think it's a great kind of mechanism. It completes a circle. So, so again, it's wonderful to hear, and your enthusiasm obviously shines through. How do you take care of yourself outside of work kind of thing? How do you look after Michael Golding and make sure he is, the man to lead the charge?
Well, I've got a few sort of fairly simple hobbies, I guess.
Some of which I know about. Give you a thumbs up regularly.
Yeah. So I do like my fitness. So I do like my road bike. I try and get out on that as long as the weather's decent and it's not raining or too windy or whatever. And I like my running as well, which I know that you do, although it's far further and faster than me. But I do like that, and I think it gives me an opportunity to I guess I use it as a bit of a de-stress sort of level. I like going out, whether it be on the road bike or whether it be just running. Just one, obviously taking care of myself, both physically and mentally. I think that definitely helps, and just a bit of downtime for myself. And I'm also I like to compete against myself a little bit. So I have my Strava, very always monitoring my my PBs and all that sort of stuff. No doubt you do the same. But yeah, I try to do that a lot. So I have my weekly targets that I try to do for mileage on the bike and a bit of road running when I'm not injured. But that obviously helps, but in particular I do like reading as well. I read a lot of books, believe it or not, when I get the time, but I do try and get through a book maybe every week, 2 weeks.
Fact or fiction, or
a bit of combination. I flip between fiction and non-fiction. I'm sort of quite interested in particular the British espionage, in particular era, post-war. Right. So the Cold War era, including the Cambridge spies, so Guy Burgess, Kim Philby, those sort of people. I find that quite fascinating, and the early days of MI5. So read a lot of those sort of books, and also things like Simon Scarrow, his Roman series. I find that quite, and it's, I guess, a little bit of time to, keep away from the phone, keep away from anything else, just to sit there in my chair. And also, I only read paper books. I can't do Kindling. I don't know Kindle. I don't know why, but I'm still a traditionalist in that sense. So, yeah, I'm often getting the Amazon delivery driver knocking on the door with the next edition of my book. So I read a lot of those. But yeah, that sort of do that, as well as supporting my football club being Spurs. So that puts me through the highs and lows of football as well.
Yes, I'm sure it does, being a Spurs fan, but we won't go there today.
Good idea.
But interesting, you learn something new every day. Obviously new, I follow you on Strava, and there's a few of us have the thumbs up. Obviously Dave of Gemini as well.
Again, I watch in admiration when I look at your targets. I think, blimey, yeah. So you're my sort of aspiration.
Oh, stop it. You say all the right things. Goodness me. Is there kind of one thing that you would relay to the industry, if you like, from either your experiences, how you've progressed yourself? You're obviously self-driven. You took it upon yourself to kind of, steer your career path accordingly. If anyone's looking at this, either in the industry, thinking of coming into the industry, is there any one message that you'd like to convey to them?
Yeah, I think continuous improvement, and I think that is really important. Looking to do things differently as a business. I think keeping as a business, continuous improvement and trying to look to do things differently rather than what the rest of the industry does. Look at specialities as depending on what a body shop wants to do. Does it want to do manufacturer driven? Does it want to do, high end repairs? Does it want to do small repair? What's their model, and specialize in that. Understand the industry, so understand what insurance companies or whatever work provider you're doing, exactly what they want to try and achieve those levels of, not just the targets, but understand what they want and try to look at trying to take the friction out of the journey to make the business easier. And for young people, just I guess try to appreciate the skill involved in the full industry itself, and try to sort of almost like every piece of work that you do, put your signature on it, in that regard. So take pride in what you do. And I think if you keep on that level of focus and pride, everything over a period of time with your experience and knowledge will fall into place. And I think it's that is a demand for the industry and for insurers and all work providers. It's those key people that I think are absolutely pivotal to the sort of claims journey. And I think that it's a great opportunity, great technology that's coming through. And if you sort of absorb all of that, and you're at the start of your career, I think it's a massive opportunity, and I think it should unfold to be a great career path.
So we're here for Work Well Fest, which is on Mental Health Awareness Day. Very proud to be a part of that as I Love Claims, obviously with Integral and Gemini. So tell us a little bit about mental health and how LV work in that area.
So obviously for staff, we have a really good support function available to all staff that we can have being an opportunity to talk. We have open lines. We have several mental health first aiders. We try to make sure that there's one mental health first aider within each department. Luckily, we've got a couple of those in our own department, and I think it's a really good support function for staff. Gives them an opportunity to express any concerns and thoughts that they may be going through on a personal life as well as potentially work as well. And I think it's great that that's becoming to the forefront, and certain subjects certainly no longer taboo, that people can feel open to discuss and open. And I think due to the amount of time people spend at work and with obviously their work colleagues, I think it's really good that we have that availability. And I think within the wider industry as well, I think there's a lot of work that's being done. I know obviously the work that Gemini's been doing in that regards, and I think that's great, because it's often can be the accident industry is sort of quite old-fashioned in some of its ways, and I think there's a great opportunity to get that support function for people and to have the availability where they can talk, open to discuss things that they may be concerned and what's worrying them, that may be having an impact on their work colleagues as well as their own work. And I think having that available now, I think is absolutely fantastic for this industry.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think it's all part of that continued evolution of the sector as it grows and develops. So I think it's a fantastic thing, and very proud to be involved in it with Gemini and Integral. So tell us then, kind of final words from you, and we like to round off the podcast with this, but words of wisdom, inspiration, what do you kind of look to there?
It's funny. A few years ago, I read a book that sort of still stuck with me, and it's from an author, Dale Carnegie. Probably know How to Make Friends and Influence People, and it's a very simple book. It's quite an old book now, probably regarded as slightly old-fashioned, but it has some key principles that has just stuck with me about respect for people, how to keep people open, and how they adapt to your way of thinking, how you can approach and present yourself. And some of those key messages within that book has just stuck with me. And I think that sort of reading that book, and often sometimes go back to that book and read chapters, not all the way through, but just keeping reading bits of it. It just holds me, it just resonates with what I believe in, and sort of have a mutual respect. And I think that for me within this industry has been sort of keeps my feet on the ground a little bit, but helps me just the way I conduct myself as well. And I think that part, it's been really influential on me.
Fantastic. Michael Golding, it's been an absolute pleasure today, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, thank you very much for listening to episode 2 of the Gemini Way podcast. You're never going to catch me on Strava.
I'll catch you. I will.
Good man. Cheers, pal.
Cheers. Thank you. It's a wrap.
Well done.
All done.
Well done, mate.
All good.
Tremendous. Thanks, buddy.